All right, team, I've just made a free Premiere Pro extension that makes synchronizing audio so much quicker and easier inside of Premiere Pro. Let me show you how it works. So as normal, you would come up to your project panel, grab your camera footage and your microphone audio and drag them onto your sequence. Now, if I were to select everything, right click and go to Synchronize, you can see that it's grayed out. Now that's because every piece of media needs to be on its own track. So you can see this one right here is on V1 and A1. I would have to drag this one onto V2, drag this one onto A2, drag this onto V3. You can see how tedious and boring this would be and how long it would take. Now there is an alternative, which is where you can right click on your folders and go to create multi-camera source sequence. But from my experience, I hate using these. They never work for me properly. So that is why I've made this extension right here called Spread. I come to my sequence, I select everything, I press this button right here. This pushes everything onto its own separate track. Now I can right click, the Synchronize button is no longer grayed out. I can press this, let Premiere Pro do its audio sync. And now it looks like everything's disappeared, right? But now I can press this button. It does some cuts, brings everything back in the order it was with the microphone audio synchronized and trimmed to the length of my video clips. So this has done 3, 4, 5 actions in one without me having to do anything. All I've done is press, 3 buttons? So yeah, that has sped up the workflow tremendously. Now this free version works really well on projects like these where you've got one camera and multiple microphones. So in this you can see I've got 2 subjects, they've both got lapel mics on, but it's just a 1 camera project. Now if you've got way more complex sequences where you've got multicams, you've got 3, 4, 5 cameras, loads of microphones, and you need to synchronize that, then that is where the pro version of this plugin called Spread Plus comes in. Now disclaimer, it's not free, but let me show you the features and I think you're gonna love it as well. Now this sequence right here is a perfect example of how good this plugin is. You can see in my project file right here, it's got 4 cameras. So I've got an A cam, B cam, C cam, and a phone. And I've got 3 microphones and 4 cameras. Now, there's no time code here. So as you can imagine, cameras were starting and stopping. The whole thing's just a bit of a mess. There's probably gonna be some files that, might not sync. And usually to synchronize this manually would take me ages. So let's see how this performs on this kind of sequence. So I come up here, press this button again, same as before, right click, synchronize, press OK. Now I'm going to get a warning that says audio synchronize failure. Now this is actually a good thing to show you how good this plugin is. So this warning is basically Premiere Pro saying that it couldn't synchronize some of the clips, which was to be expected because I've just thrown everything in there. I didn't know if there were some clips in there from another part of the day or when the microphones weren't recording, or this is a typical, here's all the footage on a sequence, let's see what we can sync. So this is super standard. So I'm going to press OK, and now I'm going to press this button, which brings everything back together. So let's watch this in action. Cool, and then we get a little report at the end which says what's happened. So it says Premiere Pro couldn't sync 5 groups, Spread parked them at the end. So what that's done, let's zoom in here. So we can see here, this is synchronized. So we can see the 3 microphones with this clip right here, this is synchronized. This one's synchronized as well. Here we have the 3 cameras, which are all synchronized with the audio. And you can see that Spread has actually muted the camera audio. So if I were to play this back, you'd only be able to hear the microphone audio, which is obviously what you'd want, right? You wouldn't want to have duplicate audio playing because that's confusing. And then what's cool is that anything that wasn't synchronized is parked here at the end of the sequence. So I can look at all these clips and I know from being on the shoot that all of these clips were just random clips that had no corresponding audio. So it's actually done exactly what I wanted it to do. It's taken everything that did have audio, synchronized it, put it at the beginning of the sequence, and everything that didn't have audio is left at the end. Now what's really cool is that there are settings where we can control how Spread behaves. So in here, we can see that there are options for backups. Those of you who are observant would see that we've got a new sequence, right, which says Spread sequence 24 before Restack. So what this has done, this has backed up the sequence before I press this button. So every time I press this button, so I'll do it again right now. If I press this button, watch my sequences, it made a backup. So before it rearranges everything, it's done a backup in case I want to change some of the settings next time. So I can come back up to my settings here and let's say, so leftover audio is set to delete. Let's say I don't want to delete the leftover audio. So let's put park the leftover audio. Let's not trim the audio. Let's leave the audio full length. And then with the camera audio, let's delete the camera audio. That's quite a lot of settings to change, but let's press done. And then we'll go back to this before Restack. And now let's watch what happens when I press this Restack button. So it made another backup, which is great. But now you can see, so right, it didn't delete the leftover audio. So the leftover audio is now at the end of the sequence along with the leftover video. It deleted the camera audio. So there's no blue audio files anymore. So it's literally just left me with just the microphones and the video files. So this is all synced and there's no redundant audio on the sequence. And you can see that it hasn't trimmed the audio to the length of the video clip. So you can see here, this audio exceeds the length of this video clip. So this shows that you can kind of configure it however you want it, because you might want the microphone audio to actually be trimmed to the length of the clip, in which case you would just turn that on in the settings. You would just set this to trim. Or if you didn't want to delete the camera audio, you could set it to keep, or you could mute it. But this just shows you the depth of this plugin and all the things you can do with it. And honestly, I shoot a lot of footage like this, and this saves me so much time because I literally just drag it into the sequence, press like 3 or 4 buttons, and I've got a perfectly synchronized sequence in order with, audio trimmed and camera audio muted and everything. So it just speeds up my workflow so much and saves me so much time. So yeah. Hopefully that gives you a good overview of the features of these plugins. Obviously, as I say, the first version is completely free and probably solves a lot of problems for a lot of people. This version probably more suited to the people that are doing these bigger projects, multiple cameras, multiple microphones. And if you download the free one or you pick up a version of the paid one, I'd love to hear what you think about it.